Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and welcome to another episode here on Cigar Keep. I have the pleasure of interviewing one of our Cigar Keep members who has the distinction of the largest keep on Cigar Keep with 393 boxes comprised over 200 different varieties, an absolutely massive collection spanning decades of Cuban cigars. This is Urs Stephan Alder, otherwise known as Cigarland, or on Instagram, USA Cigarland. Urs, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a regular member of Cigar Keep, one of the earliest, and also a regular joiner of our weekly cigar smokes. But it's great to finally be able to sit down and speak to you individually and to learn about your incredible collection. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kirby. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for me to talk with you about cigars, and I appreciate very much your work, which you are doing for the cigar community, for the whole cigar community. There are really positive impulses for us. And let's...
Well, very kind. And it is an incredible honor for me to even have the opportunity to sit down with such a distinguished collector of Cuban cigars. I mean, for those of us, truly passionate about connoisseurship, the opportunity to glimpse into a collection such as yours is really a rare privilege because, for most people, I mean, outside of cigar shops, like AJ or the Sahakian's collections you'd see in London, the majority of our humidors are outside of prying eyes. I mean, it's private, and very few people have the privilege of seeing into those humidors and hearing the cigar stories that one has accumulated over a lifetime of collecting. But before we get started, with too much talking, we must first light up, because it would not be appropriate to have this conversation any other way. So I'm smoking a Partagas Aristocrat from the early 2000s. This is one of my favorite daily smokes, but I'm not going to dwell too much on this. I'm going to cut and light it. But if you wouldn't mind, share with us what it is that you've chosen to smoke during today's call.
I have San Cristobal de la Habana Officios. This is a LCDH release. Discontinued. I don't remember exactly the box date. I think it's 2007 or something like this. It's aged. Yeah.
And are you primarily smoking aged cigars, Urs?
The most times, meanwhile. But if there are new releases, new vitolas, then of course I smoke also new cigars. I take some notes, and then maybe half a year I smoke the next one, take some notes. So I look to catch the development of a cigar with my personal impression. This is the way how I'm smoking, and for only, I say, enjoyment, I take a good aged cigar, and this is the most pleasure for me, of course, an aged one.
Well, for those of us that really love Cuban cigars, I mean, the pinnacle is smoking a beautifully aged cigar. And this is what makes collecting fun, is the ability to set aside cigars and to really, it's like seeing your children grow, enjoying your cigars as they age is part of what makes Habano cigars so special. Would you agree with that?
I agree fully with that. Yes, of course.
What is it that you, Urs, that you find so special or different about aged or vintage cigar versus a new production? Because, a lot of the new production cigars that Habanos is producing, smoke great out of the box. I mean, you don't need to set it down for several years in order for it to become a good cigar. but there is something special to something that has sat. And how would you describe that for maybe someone that is not experienced that or is just beginning their journey into Cuban cigars?
Yeah. Um, Meanwhile, that's true. Many cigars, which are new cigars, are in a very good shape to smoke, but the most of them also turn to a sick phase. Or if you receive this cigar, they are in a sick phase. This means it's absolutely closed. It tends to be bitter. It tends to be strong, and this bitterness covers the special aroma, the flavor of the cigar. It's like wine. If you have very good wine, take a Bordeaux. Meanwhile, it's also, since some years, you can drink them if they are fresh on the bottle. But then they go to a sick phase, and afterwards they come back and have a beautiful aroma. It's like a flower. When the flower is very young, maybe it opens a little bit, then it gets closed, and later on you see the full beauty of the flower. And this is also by cigars for me, for myself.
Yeah. But when one looks at an aged cigar, I mean, it sounds like you're quite systematic in the way that you approach your collecting, in the note taking. How would you describe that evolution, right? I mean, notwithstanding the sick phase, right, which is important to note that cigars do go through a sick phase, and it's important not to be discouraged by that, but to kind of wait it out. But once that's behind a cigar, um, how would you describe that evolution of flavors and complexity?
A cigar, in most times, gets sweeter. It's more sweet over age. The smoke is more creamy. And you have more different aromas. Which aromas depends on the cigar. There are cigars which are tending to wood, others to earth, coffee, chocolate. You can notice all these aromas. And especially if a cigar is aged, these aromas are very present. But there is something very interesting and to be care about. You can overage a cigar. Not all cigars are perfect for aging.
How would you describe a cigar that's not appropriate for aging? I mean, what are the characteristics that for you have you say, you know what, I don't think this is going to age well?
Well, if the cigar, when it's fresh, when it's coming, has a very light body, and it's not only, let's say, it's also closed, but it's not heavy closed. It's a kind of a light smoke. Then I think you have the problem with the age. But at the end, you have to try it.
Yeah.
That's there are sometimes surprises. If you have a cigar which you are thinking, oh, this will not good age, like Porrelanga Picadores, as example. I said this cigar is not for aging, but I had a few boxes. I had boxes from the first batch in 2013, 14, and I've smoked one of these cigars, meanwhile 10 years old, and I was surprised. But on the other side, you have top brands like Cohiba, which are thinking, oh, this will age very well, because Cohiba, from its structure, is capable of aging. I was also very surprised with the Millennium jar. I smoked some from the Millennium jar. I smoked all three. There is Cohiba, Guava, and Monte
Yeah,
Cristo.
I see them behind you, peeking out of the
Yes.
top of your
Yeah.
cabinet.
I smoked from these, yes.
They're smiling at me.
This Cohiba cigar is really over the top. It's declining for me. And I said this to some friends, and they said, "Oh, I have to try it also." And they have the same conclusion.
Yeah.
So, but be careful. The problem is other people like it this way. They say, for me, Cohiba is number one, almost of the three millenniums. For me, it's number three. I have connected to a guy in Hong Kong, and we have discussed this topic, and he says, Cohiba for me is number one.
Really?
The problem of cigar smoking is not only the cigar and the smoke it generates, it's also our psychology. Because if you consume something and you are in a very, very good mood, it's really different. And so it's really difficult to say, this is like I've said it is. It's only for you personally. This is your personal impression. And so there are many times surprises. And this is very interesting because you have discussions with friends who like cigars. And they say, no, I think it's more like this. And okay, if you don't like your Cohibas, you can give it all to me for free.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Trade you some Monte Cristos.
That's a story.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the millennial jars, because I had an opportunity to visit with Max Gutman.
Yep, I've seen.
In City. And one of the things that we spoke about were the millennial jars. And unfortunately, we didn't smoke one in that moment. But of those three jars, which do you think aged the best? I mean, Cohiba, you said you think, maybe of the three aged the worst. Did the Cohiba, the Monte Cristo? I mean, how would you describe, where they began and then where they are now, and what made that great or not exceptional?
At the beginning, for me, also the Cohiba was the best one.
Good.
And Guava was the same like Monte Cristo for me. So we had one at place one and two at place two. And they have changed Guava and Cohiba were, I estimate, 8 years ago at the same level. And the Monte Cristo was then number one for me. And meanwhile, I've smoked 3 the last half year, and 3 from each. And for me now, the Cohiba is number 3, and Guava number 2, and Monte Cristo number 1.
Yeah.
But this can change also because, it's natural stuff.
Yeah.
And I try to be very careful in storing the cigars. Looking that I have always the constant temperature and humidity, that there are no changes. But this is also a topic of itself.
Yeah.
How should a cigar age?
We do have a lot of collectors on Cigar Keep.
Right.
And, someone that's, really, I'd say at the beginning of his journey of collecting, having just built my Cigar Keep walk-in humidor by Vigilant, it's surprisingly difficult, right? And there's no definitive information out there in terms of what the best temperature and humidity is at which to store your cigars. So, Ernst, how do you approach this, and what's your ideal environment in which you're aging your collection?
I have different environments. I have experimented over the years. For long-term storage, I use containers. These are aluminum containers with different sizes. The largest have a capacity of 140 liters. And the standard one has 91 liters. So they can keep some boxes. And the first thing which I'm controlling, which I try to fix, is the temperature. Because if you have a moving temperature, the problem is you have a relative humidity, and also the humidity does something. So you have to fix the temperature, because this is the most easy part of all. If you have closed boxes and have a vault which the doors get not opened all hour or something like this, then this is the best way. And these are also airtight. I'm not a fan of, there are some theories, it's important that the cigar can breathe. But the cigar never can breathe in a box, in a cabinet. It's impossible. Okay, there is some exchange, a little exchange possible, but not really huge one. And you can take an experiment. Take out some cigars from a cabinet of 50 and store them open. Sometimes you have in such cabinets like this also, or in a walk-in humidor, a tray for open cigars, which you can present. And let some cigars, which are fully opened, leave it for some years. And you will see they have another taste. I would not say a bad taste, but another taste than this one, which were in a closed environment. And I think, meanwhile, the most collectors are storing huge quantities in such containers.
Yeah.
And you can take some from aluminium. That's more expensive, of course. But also, if you have only some in plastic, Tupperware or something like this, it's okay.
And what temperature and what humidity are you storing at?
20 degrees. Okay. And never over 65%. Never. I tend to go to 60% because of mold. Because the main problem is, if you have a really huge collection, it's near impossible to inspect all your cigars in a cycle of, let's say, 3 months. If you have 1,000 boxes, this is a huge quantity which you cannot handle alone. Then
it's a full-time job to inspect. Do you have a ritual of inspecting your cigars? I mean, do you come home at the end of the evening and kind of browse through your collection and see how they're doing? I mean, Max, talks about coming home at the end of the day and going into his humidor and speaking to his little babies.
Yeah. I have some cigars at home, but not the huge quantity. I have some here in the office. This is my office.
You're in the office right now.
I have a lounge here in my office, and the most cigars I own are in a vault or in some vaults, not only one, because there's another topic which many people doesn't think about. What is when your house would burn down,
Yeah.
or if criminals are coming and take your cigars away? Where is the insurance for such things?
It's not really.
Yeah,
So that's
I
so
have
that's.
insured my cigars,
I mean, do you keep
but
them in bank vaults, or I mean, being
no,
in Switzerland, are they in a vault in a mountain somewhere?
could be. Yeah, we have such vaults. Yeah, of course.
I mean, you do, and so
Switzerland is full of vaults.
yeah. I mean,
Definitely. Yeah. No, this is warehouse-like, but with controlled conditions and also with specially secured.
yeah,
And important for me is I have from the insurance side, I have the cigars insured. A direction, they say to me, okay, you can insure your cigars, but you cannot have more than a specific amount of money expressed in money in such a room. So, and now you can estimate that this is a real problem for me meanwhile, because the cigar prices go up and up and up and up. This means for me, I have to search new vaults, split it more if I would be in full compliance with the insurance.
Now I know that there's companies that do this for wine. I've got several friends that have cold storage for their wine. Are you using one of these wine services? Because I've never heard of anything like this marketed towards cigars. But the temperature which you're describing would be pretty close to the temperature that one would store wine for long-term aging.
No, in Switzerland we have here a special insurance. It's called Hausratversicherung. This means all the things you have in your house, your clothes, your books, your everything. And the only thing is also your jewelry, your clocks. But the special thing is if you have a huge amount of something like wine or cigars, then you have to go to them and say, I have this sum in cigars. I have this sum in wines or in my clock collection. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, and at the end, you have the whole sum of all your goods you own as a private person. And then they say you how much this costs.
Yeah.
It's much cheaper than business insurance. They have tried, of course, they have tried to say to me, oh, you have such an amount of cigars, this is not normal, this is insane, this is crazy. You are a business. You cannot do an insurance, a private insurance. But at the end, they've said, okay, it's okay. But you have to look only this amount per room.
Yeah.
And then you are compliant and it's okay.
Yeah. The interesting problems that we collectors encounter.
Luxury products.
I'm not quite to that level yet, but I do have a different type of insurance you could describe, which is that my cigars are at my office and not at my house because it's insurance against my wife's scrutiny of my humidor and my collecting habits. Well, let's pivot back a little bit to kind of your journey. You've on your profile on Cigar Keep, been collecting for over 30 years. What was it that first got you into cigars? And was there a moment or a cigar that you credit with, really catalyzing your passion?
The first positive impression for me with cigars was I have smoked my first cigar with my father. I was just 18 years old then. It was a La Gloria Cubana #2 and Medallon #2. And I've smoked this cigar with him again and again, each year, one at minimum. And
how old were you when you first had that cigar with him?
18 years old. Yes. Just as it was legal, I had to try cigars.
Yeah. Well, I admire your discipline for waiting that long.
I had some friends which had also fun with cigars. And so we've smoked a lot, different brands. But in the age of, let's say, 18 to 30 years, we don't had money to buy cigars. That is also a very interesting phenomenon. Cigars for the people but were always too expensive. Always. Back 20 years back, all said, "Oh, it's expensive, it's expensive," and every year it's more expensive. So I started to collect cigars in a large quantity after 30 years. Then I bought also such cabinets or also a system like a wine cooler, but for cigars. I had 2 of them because I was in an apartment which has no air condition, and in summertime in Switzerland it could be 37 degrees Celsius, and I was always looking that the temperature is stable. And yes, it's always the same story. You have something you can store cigars. This can be a cabinet, this can be such a wine cooler which is modified for cigar cooling, or a walk-in humidor. If you have such a nice thing and you put your boxes in, you see, oh, it's empty. It's empty. I have to fill this space, I have to fill that space. So you strive for a nice view of the collection. Wow. And so it happened. I bought more and more cigars and different cigars. And if I have smoked a cigar which I was very impressed with my friends, and then I bought more from them. And at the end, it was like a self-runner. You buy, and as long as you have enough budget for your cigars, then you buy cigars. And I was not thinking at the beginning to build up a collection which has a line of, let's say, the Habanos books or Humidor Antiguo or regional edition. This was also a thing at this time. There were no such thing like regional editions or edición limitada. This whole thing with edición limitada was year 2000 with Bartagas and Monte Cristo. They came first, and of course, as my dealer said, here we have something new. This is edición limitada. And they have to plan each year to bring out some limitadas. And then I bought Monte Cristo and Tartagas. I was very excited. Oh, something really new, edición limitada, limited. And with my best friend, we have opened the box and smoked one, and we were like two little boys. The nicotine from this cigar, then fresh, was so strong. We had really begun to shake, and had cold sweat and full nicotine flash, but not a nice nicotine flash. It was really hurting, and we were very impressed about the power of this cigar. And with this, I've said, oh, this must be a cigar which you can store 20 years, 30 years. I have to get more of them. And so I've searched for more boxes, and as they are very limited, I have to go to different dealers. And this was the beginning of collecting. There was something special. And later there was a regional edition. Switzerland was one of the first regional editions with Ramon Alones. I don't know the name. It's something with E. Essentia or something like this. I don't know at the moment. So I began then to collect regional editions, and then there were the Habanos books. I was a little bit too late with the Habanos books because the first one, Guava, came out in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought later the first books from me was Cohiba and from Trinidad, and later on all the series. And I bought always what I could get. So, and here we are at the interesting point.
Habanos Moderno, Alex Grims's book. I mean, you've got mid-70s book, the Encyclopedia of Post-Revolution Cuban Cigars, looking at that, that era, post-revolutionary all the way up to like 1998 or 2000. And then you have Alex Grooms kind of taking it forward and kind of the era of modern Cuban cigars. It really is interesting how Habanos has, created and really indulged the collector in these, edición limitadas and the regional editions, to allow them to layer on top of the standard production cigars, which, we all love, with, as Max would say, the unusual and the interesting. Unusual, popular, as he would say, but many of these have been phenomenally popular. And it's what's created the fun of collecting is kind of the conquest of going out and acquiring. Are you buying the majority of your cigars locally in Switzerland, or in order to, or are you branching out across Europe? And then how is it? Are you just focusing on kind of the limited editions or the regional editions from your area, or are you going out and trying to get, regional editions from all over the world?
I have here my home base in Switzerland, of course, and here I know some dealers, which I have a relationship long since many years, long relationship. And as I was in business, I was in the IT industry, and so I have traveled a lot in each country where I had to do a job. I've done research first. Where are the cigar shops near my hotel and the places where I'm going? And so I went into the cigar shops and have looked around what they have, and so I get my cigars. And also very important are collector friends. And this is a topic which is very unique with the Cigar Keep, with these virtual smokes. For me, it's absolutely interesting to get in touch with people from, let's say, Pakistan, like Usman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What have they? What's the cigar culture there? For me, in Switzerland, it's absolutely unknown, and he has also connections. And so, over time, if you have new friends, then I will be able to send some members Swiss editions, and maybe they can send me something from India, Pakistan, whatever. And the network is very important. If you want to have a broad collection and regional edition as example, without removed serial numbers, you can also buy regional editions over the secondary market.
Yeah, like
There are
Bond Robert.
some specialized dealers also, but sometimes the serial number is removed from the box, and as a collector, you would to have absolutely intact piece and nothing removed.
Yeah.
And so direct contact is very important.
Yeah, that's important. Well, you've got an incredible keep on Cigar Keep. I mean, as I said, over 350 boxes comprised of 200 vitolas. I'm sure that's just a small fraction because I think that, the database, we're constantly struggling to keep up with things to add. So if there's anything you need or like to see us add, please just email us at info@cigarkeep.com and Alex can take care of that. But since we're there, and you've got your beautiful cabinet behind you, is there anything kind of special or unique that you'd like to share with us all and you can talk about? A little bit of a show and tell.
Yeah. I have here something special for me personally.
That's the best.
It's too bright, or it's okay? It's better. Yeah. Okay. This one here. This is the H. Upman Magnum 56. And you see, this is an edition limitada from 2015.
No, that's great, actually. Yeah, it's better.
And I take this one off.
Okay.
And you see.
Yeah. What is that? Is that your wedding band?
Yes, this is my this is my wedding band.
Huh.
It is the only 2015.
So your wife knew what she was getting into. There was no.
She's Cuban, so it was no problem to choose a Cuban emblem.
Yeah.
And this is my wedding cigar. And so it's very special for me, of course. And it's a very fantastic cigar also. I have smoked one a week ago at the last Cigar Keep virtual smoke.
Oh, wow.
Where we have waited, we're waiting for AJ, which was in Cuba. Maybe
he was in Cuba with no electricity.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Could be. Yeah.
So how many, do you have a tradition where you smoke one of those every year on your anniversary? You smoked one on the Cigar Keep virtual keeps here.
Yeah.
Clearly not exclusively smoking them on your anniversary, but, do you have a special ritual kind of associated or tradition associated with that cigar?
I have another cigar, which I only smoke once a year at the 21st in October. This is the first cigar which I have smoked with my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I have done a post at Cigar Keep and a photo. Then I light up 3 candles and light up this cigar and enjoy it. Watch at the smoke how it's rising and goes to nowhere. And this is a ritual. This is the birthday of my dad. He has died 12 years ago. And so this is how I honor my dad with a cigar. So you see, cigars are important for me. Cigars are really great for new friends. If you go somewhere, you can go to a lounge, you can sit there, and the most time you met new people. You begin to talk with them, you have a discussion, and that's great. And the cigar is also great in moments where you are or want to be alone, to relax, or to do your personal ritual about something. And as said, this is the cigar which I only smoke at this date. Also because I don't have an unlimited stock. Also my stock is limited. And when I get 100 years, I have to have such cigars. Otherwise, my ritual doesn't work.
Yeah. Huh. That's really special.
This cigar...
What else?
Sorry?
No, please, continue.
This cigar, I smoke, of course, at the day where we have had our marriage. But I smoke this cigar also in between when I find, could be fine. I want to see how it develops. And I have a lot of these boxes, so that's no problem for me to smoke, let's say, 3-4 pieces per year. And the stock is large enough for many years.
You don't have to worry about running out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, what I find is, really important about anyone that's beginning a collection is, you need, as I call it, endowing your collection. You need not only enough cigars to smoke today, but you need enough cigars today to smoke tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so if you're someone that enjoys aged cigars, if you're just beginning, I mean, if anything, you need to be buying 2 or 3 times the number of cigars that you're actively consuming if you want to have anything in the future to smoke with age. Because, I mean, of course, you can go onto a site like Bond Roberts and buy aged cigars. But for most of us, we're buying, current production and then allowing those cigars to age. And in order to do that and still smoke, you need to have a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's also, you are independent in a way. If there is a shortage with cigars, there are some people, they get nervous because, I have near no cigar. If you have only a small humidor on your table and there is a shortage in the market from the cigars you prefer, then you have always a little bit of stress because you had smoked the last one, you go to the dealer, to the shop, and they say, sorry, we've seen this cigar no more since a long time. And so you remove stress from this. And also, if you have some stock of cigars and you have a few boxes of some cigars, it's very interesting also to do exchange with others. That's the reason why I had bought so many of the same cigars. Some people said, "Oh, he's a hoarder. He takes all the cigars away from us. We cannot buy any cigars because Urs is
Cornering the market.
yeah. That's not. That's too short. That's too short thinking. I bought such amount of the same cigars to first have the cigars to smoke a long time. Then the second reason is I have something to do exchange. If you want to collect a line at the end, if you go into this direction of collecting, you want to have a full line of Habanos books as example. And as I said, I have missed the Guava book. Sometimes you have luck and another collector is selling something from his collection, then you can buy it. This was by the Guava book in this way. And sometimes there are collectors who have two pieces of an item which you don't have in your line and you want to complete the line. Because for a collector, it's awful to have an uncompleted line. And so you met the guy and you are asking, "Oh, you have two. Do you want to sell one?" And maybe he said, "No, it's not for money." But if in the discussion, you realize he has also some items which are he doesn't have, which are missing in his line, and then he is willing to do an exchange. So you are always in a good position if you have many of an item. You can smoke it for yourself, you can exchange it, you can give it as a present for a very good friend, and it's also a protection against inflation from the money side. Yeah. It's like a Swiss Army knife, let's say. Multi-purpose device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can never have too many Swiss Army knives.
Yeah.
Well, one last question before we wrap up, and that is, do you have any favorite standard production cigars? We've spoken about some of the really special ones, and they get all the attention. But the standard production, day in, day out is what the majority of us are smoking. So do you have any favorites?
I have my two favorites, or three favorites. The first one is Juan Lopez number 2. It's a Robusto. This is my top favorite.
Great cigar.
This is a very pricey cigar, and it's in a very good quality. And the second one is Ramon Alones, specially selected.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I don't have much time, then I need a small cigar, of course. And this is also Ramon Alones, Small Club Corona.
Okay.
Or the H. Upmann, Half Corona.
Okay.
These are my standard cigars, so to speak. And of course, I have some others, but not in the same frequency. I like also Monte Cristo number 2. This is also a safe value. And H. Upmann, so Winston, but it's a higher price than it's
long cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Well, Urs, thank you so much. I mean, parting, do you have any advice that you would offer to collectors just beginning their journey?
Depending on budget, buy the things you can get at the moment. This is my only advice, because there is so much shortage in the market. Of course, it depends on location, but I can speak for Switzerland. We have here very huge shortages. Sometimes they get new products in their stock, the dealers and the shops, and some dealers have also done a good stock over the years and can live from them. But meanwhile, also here in Switzerland, we have the problem. Some dealers are selling the cigars, standard cigars, like a new gold medal as example. You have an official price for 320 Swiss francs for this cigar. They sell this for 700 Swiss francs.
Yeah.
You see, they have then an impact in the price. So my advice is go to every shop you see, Casa Habano first, and of course also the Habano specialists, and ask for cigars.
Yeah.
Buy regular production cigars to have something to smoke and to age also, because these cigars are relatively cheap, and then you have the possibility to see how such cigars develop over the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have special collection items, they are so expensive. Meanwhile, then you have to have knowledge to buy these things, or you have plenty of money. That's another thing. Then you can buy all. But for the most people, I think start with regional productions. Buy, if you can, regional editions, edición limitadas, and so you have your experience. Your personal experience is very important in this field.
Yeah.
Go out in lounges, meet people, other smokers. You get a lot of information also about availability.
Mm-hmm.
Many people know, hey, I've seen they have a new batch of cigars, and so you have this information in your location.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, go to Cigar Keep.
Yeah.
Go to the virtual smokes.
Mm-hmm.
Meet people, hear what they have to say, what they can do for you, what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
So
great advice.
It's a good way.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Urs, and thank you for sharing your passion, your time with us, and for keeping your keep up to date on Cigar Keep. Anyone that's interested in, of course, seeing Urs' collection can go on to Cigar Keep. We have a link in the description of this video, but you can also just go to our members' keeps, and Urs's keep is proudly listed first, having the distinction of the highest number of cigars, and then on Instagram, of course, with usa.cigar.land, you can see some absolutely beautiful photographs of his collection published there. And then, of course, joining us on one of our weekly cigar smokes, which is about to begin here shortly. So I've got to jump off of this and get the virtual smoke going.
I also.
But thank you so much, Urs, and I look forward to enjoying more cigars together virtually, and hopefully sometime soon, one together in person.
Thank you very much, Kirby, for having me, and it was a pleasure for me. And I hope we can smoke one together when we met in person. I have tried in London to contact you, but you were very busy. I understand this because famous persons,
well, hardly
have always
famous.
the problem. All have a
Overworked and spending
request.
time in London,
Yeah.
but we'll make sure that we do this. I'll be in London actually all next week.
Okay.
But first, thank you so much, and I
Thank you.
look forward to many great cigars together.
Of course. You too. Thank you.